What's up out there? Barbershop Sports Politics fans. We back in the house once again. Martin, aka Young Lion the Leader, here with Smoke, aka Mr. Hopkins. We got a nice topic. Yeah, how you doing today?
6 feet on top, man.
Oh yeah, that's always a blessing. All right, so we got a nice topic for y'all on the Justice Department will use private prisons again. Most people probably don't even know that Obama had pretty much taken the funding away from the private prisons, so that it was only I would say we probably wanted him to do more when it came to dealing with the prison system, but he did at least try to defund the private prisons. But as soon as Trump gets back in, he reinstates that little thing in order, and so now we're back to again the Justice Department using private prisons. What do you think about this, Mr. Hopkins?
Yeah, I mean, it don't surprise me because Trump is a businessman. He's a businessman, so things that I think he can line his pockets, or his the people that he aligns with himself with pockets. Everything is business as usual. It's a sad situation, but I mean, unfortunately, I just don't expect anything. I don't expect anything in a positive way from Donald.
Okay.
Trump, man. So, it doesn't surprise me, and I'll say this. I'm not the biggest I wasn't the biggest Barack Obama supporter either, and this is one thing that makes me appreciate him. Because I guess when you just don't realize the impact of what's going on until somebody comes behind it and changes. Sometimes you just really don't understand what it was. All the little battles that he won. You know what I mean? He won a lot of small battles, and I can appreciate him more for that because obviously Donald Trump is coming right behind him, trying to undo everything he's done.
Yeah, realistically, this is the problem that I have with the way that our republic works. These are issues that I think the people should decide. These are issues that I should have voted on it. I should be able to say, well, I voted for that or I voted against that, and then we can let the chips fall where they may. But I don't think that we have basically a minority leading the majority, and when it comes to most issues, especially issues like this, where I just think that I should have a say in this. The average person should have a say in this. We need to figure out how we can not send the politicians up there which vote against their district. You know what I'm saying? Half the time they vote against their district, which that doesn't seem like a fair representation of a democracy to me. It doesn't seem like a fair representation of democracy. It really, you should have to vote with what the majority of your district is. But because we have things set up like this, and then the current television stations will never call them on their bull, then it just continues on. But fortunately, we have programs like this and other programs that are going to highlight issues like this and maybe get the discussion going so we can maybe make a move on some of these things. Some of these things don't make sense as far as us doing it. This is it's kind of personal, I guess you could say, dealing with with black people, because of it's a great book. I can't think of the name of it. It's called Slavery by Another Name. read this book, you will see how they kept slavery going for almost 100 years after it was supposed to be over with through the prison systems. And for this particular reason, they made it so that you could not make the prisoners work. So, there was a law passed after people caught on to the fact that they were, arresting people. Same stuff you're doing. People getting lost in the system because the money was there for them. If that's another worker for them, they already know what they can do with that. So, so you went from that point where you said you slavery is over with, and they started locking more and more black people up for different reasons. Then you go to the point where they say, okay, no longer can you force the the prisoner to work. And then we go back to the point where Bush reverses that. So Bush reverses it, and now all of a sudden now you have these private prisons jumping up because it's a profitable business. And when I can house 15,000 people and force them to do whatever work that I want them to do for pennies on the dollar for what it would cost those corporations to do it. Because some of y'all will be surprised at how much prisoners, how much work and what the type of work that prisoners do. Some of these prisoners, are doing jobs that realistically you wouldn't be able to do once they got out. They wouldn't be able to do it once they got out, but as long as they're doing it for the private prisons and it's kept under wraps, because you never will see a call center. They're not going to see too much videos of the call centers in the prisons and things like that. So it is just some things that's kind of kept under wraps. This is a demographic that cannot protect themselves, because if you are in prison, you probably have lost your right to vote. If you don't have your right to vote, then they are able to do whatever they want to do to you. And then it's to the average person, it's no news to them. When they start talking about where prisoners can work, well, I'm not in prison, so I don't care, So this is a pretty crazy issue. I think we should start looking into these type of things a little bit more, because I think you're responsible. If you're an American and you're a part of this country, you are also responsible for everything that Americans do. So when we are actually doing things that realistically almost should be unconstitutional, and going towards a legalized slavery again, you're responsible. You pay taxes. You pay for that. You know what I'm saying? So we have to step up to the plate when it comes to dealing with these issues and making sure that our politicians do the things that we need them to do, and that even the least among us are not getting screwed over. So, Mr. Hopkins, anything else that you want to talk about this?
I mean, man, it's deep, man. There's like you say, man, we're underrepresented in so many ways, and we're overrepresented, and yet and still in the prisons. We oversaturate the prisons. And I'm as I'm looking at numbers, I'm steady looking at these numbers, and I'm seeing the prisons are basically 60%, 61% filled with blacks and Latinos. 61% of the prisons are filled with black and Latinos, and 30% is white. and I'm not making this a black and white thing. Well, what I'm saying is that's an overrepresentation of of how it is demographically, because blacks don't make up 30% of the population. Latinos don't make up, well, Latinos may make up 30%, but blacks and Latinos together don't make up 61% of the population. So how do they make up 60% of the people who are in prison? That's a that's what you call, that's the definition of a misrepresentation.
Hmm. Well, there's another video, I guess it came out recently, that kind of gives me the ideal of what I think is going on in our neighborhoods. I see a lot of cases where young men do certain things, and if they have a certain hue, or they're with the right group, they seem to get taps on the wrist for certain stuff. And then someone like we watched two videos recently. One where this man was touching a girl on the bus. Young man intercedes. You know what I'm saying? It probably hits the guy a couple times. They call the police. He goes to jail. He goes to jail along with the guy. When that type of stuff,
Nah, actually,
Go ahead.
let me interrupt you, because I didn't want you to finish this. No, he actually didn't go to jail, and it was
Mm-hmm.
it was a black officer who came up and uncuffed him and let him go, and he wanted to go see who the woman was, whoever the woman who had got attacked. He wanted to go straight. He went to go talk to her, so he didn't end up going to jail.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a blessing
But it
on
was
that
still
particular. It was starting. It looked like it was starting to go that way. So thank God
Right.
for that other officer that showed up. Because it seemed like that it was kind of crazy the way that video went. It seemed like he was bringing the officers to the back and showing them what was going on and trying to explain it, and they immediately grabbed his hand and put a cuff on it. I was like, wow, that's.
And when that video, and this is important, man, because sometimes we can be blinded by hate so much to the point that we miss what needs to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what needed to be seen was there were all kinds of people, all kinds of different people on that bus, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When it came down to them telling the story of who done what, everybody was speaking up, young lady.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was, trying to let the police know, look, he was basically trying to save, this little girl from whatever this, maybe drunk, high. You don't know what he was on. You don't know what his intention was. All you know that this was a girl that didn't seem.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to, she wasn't calling for this in no kind of way.
Yeah.
She didn't want that type of attention. So he was just basically trying to save her. But what you needed to see was these people who looked different all coming together to tell the police, look, this was the situation. We don't need people to just sit back and not say nothing. You know what I mean? Because that possibly saved a life. He could have been in jail. That could have been a situation where if nobody had said anything, he would have been in jail. Maybe the black police officer never gets a chance to see him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because if somebody doesn't speak up, it happens that quick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's how I feel like. And I said that to say this. It still kind of falls into what I was about to say. Of policing your own neighborhoods. You see that it actually did take the black officer coming up and okay, well, this is what it is. I don't think this guy needs to go to jail. But that's why I just say, as far as policing your own neighborhood, so those are the type of things that you should have the judgment decision on. You should have a judgment decision on whether you prosecute this person over this or that. You know, which they seem like they have a judgment decision on whether they prosecute people when they're getting killed, when black folks are getting killed. And these are the type of situations that I need to see more of. And I commend those officers for not taking that man to jail in that particular instance. But those are type of ways that where, you know, if you police in your neighborhood, you fall through the cracks and you end up in the system on some stuff that it really shouldn't have been that way. You know, it shouldn't have been that way. And I guess the other video that I was bringing in, I guess was the other one with the young man trying to fight a man that should have been his granddaddy, could have been his granddaddy. And you know, we talked about that. Somebody recording it, that was kind of that was weak to record it. But another young man came in and I guess you could say broke it up, but hit the other guy to stop him from jumping on this older man. And
about that is, man, you need at all times, man, and this is for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for anybody with a grandparent. This is somebody with a grandparent they love, a mother that they love, an aunt that they love, an uncle that they love, that don't want no harm to come to you know, these people. You need to stand up for them, you know, because regardless of the situation, you understand. Okay, at a certain point, there's just a level of respect you should have for your elders, to the point where there should never be a point where neither one of you are putting your hands on each other.
Yes.
Especially when this person could be your grandfather. Mm-hmm. And what he needs, I mean, what that man needs to understand that he is somebody's grandfather. He is somebody's father. Somebody does love him. At any point in time in life, that's not okay. It's not cool. You know what I mean? Because if it was me, we'd probably be doing the same thing. Actually, there's no probably about it. You know, because that could have been my grandfather.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just, if he didn't do anything to cause that, you need your ass whooped. You know what I mean? If it's just some going back and forth, like he talking to you a certain way you don't like, man, don't go about your business. You know what I mean? Because he done lived a lot of life and you ain't gonna change his mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
And so that is those are two situations that I thought were where the two people were trying to be the good Samaritan and put themselves in the crosshairs of the criminal justice system. Trying to be a good Samaritan, and those type of situations, I just pointed those out because those are two situations where two people could have ended up in the justice system, and they were doing the right thing. And in my opinion, they were doing the right thing. Some people may argue with that or whatever, but they were doing the right thing. But we just have to stay abreast of these issues and stay on top of things like this. You know, I just don't. This is one that's very difficult because it's like it's always the separating of people. Of, you know, it's hard for people to see themselves and even care about what happens to prisoners. You know, as long as it's not them and they don't have to deal with it. But we need to always be looking for the least of our people. You know, whether it be older generation, young kids, or it'll be somebody that like a prisoner that can't necessarily stand up for itself. You need somebody outside of the system. We have to start to be those people. Right. That is going to stand up for what's right, regardless. And I don't think these private prisons are right, and we should stand up against it. It should not be something where we just turn our head and look the other way, because you know that's the same thing when they talk about Hitler, about how everyone could have jumped in and helped at the beginning, but everybody waited until he attacked them. Well, he not messing with us, so we just let it go on, and then eventually it comes your turn. And then with the exception of him making a dumb decision of splitting up his army, everybody would be speaking German right now, because they had waited so long to actually stand up against a quote-unquote bully. All right, well, that's our topic for that's a topic for today. We want y'all to continue to watch, stay with us, subscribe. We're gonna keep good topics coming to you pretty much almost on the daily. If you have any topics that you have out there that you want us to attack or touch on, please email me at msimes46@gmail.com, or just post on our page in any of the topics. I always check the posts and I reply to anyone that posts anything. So once again, this is Barbershop Sports Politics, aka Martin the Young Lion the leader, DeMarcus Cousins, DeMarcus Hopkins.
Hey, Cousins, if you're listening, if you
Cousins
happen to be listening, man,
he must
mean it.
He must gonna be our first. I believe he gonna be our first big guest, man. I just keep saying this man's name enough. Cousins, I think Cousins might mess with us, man. Cousins might mess with us.
Listen, if you're on her, Boogie, just know, man, you can get on here and talk about whatever you want to talk.
Whatever you want to talk about, man. Whatever you want to talk about.
Whatever you want to kiss your ass and the whole world. So if you need to say that, man, you know. So go on and give us that platform. Let us be that platform.
All right, man. Well, that's our topic for today, and we out. Always, don't forget to subscribe.